Hello everyone, I'm the Reverend Sarah Keane, curate in the Golden Cap team. Welcome to this week's Midweek message. New Year brings for most of us some new beginnings, but the end of last year also brought the end to my 5 years managing the Rural Hope programme for the diocese. Rural Hope received special funding from the Church Commissioners, and its aim was to support rural mission and ministry in the rural areas of the Salisbury Diocese. In case you're wondering what that looks like, 90% of the parishes in the Salisbury Diocese are in rural areas, so it was quite an important area to focus on. Rural Hope had various strands, but the one that you might have come across in any form related to supporting local teams looking to set up new forms of church. We had 4 rural field officers, one in each of the archdeaconry areas, and they worked with the teams locally, encouraging them to work together, providing training on that, and then looking at what sort of new worshipping communities might be founded. This was not an easy undertaking, and it took a long time for each local team to develop things, as you might expect. But by the end, we had a whole range of new forms of church across the diocese. This could be anything from the more straightforward things that you've probably heard of, like breakfast church or messy church, through to more eco-friendly forms of church, such as muddy church or forest church. Those types of activity really took hold in people's imagination during lockdown, where it's important to look at how we might best celebrate God outside the church walls. Some of you, if you're part of the diocesan communications network, will have received a questionnaire before Christmas asking you to say a bit about any experience you've had with Rural Hope. Now, for some of you, this might have been mystifying, and you thought, what was Rural Hope? We never heard about it. But that's because we didn't brand everything we did as specifically Rural Hope. For instance, you may recall during the vacancy before Chris and Ginny and Sarah arrived, that there was a lady called the Reverend Janet Smith who came to support people under the aegis of energising local ministry. Well, Janet was actually a part of the Rural Hope team. We also ran a successful set of webinars during lockdown, which with the topic of supporting people celebrating the rural seasons in the church, and providing lots of material and guest speakers who could talk people through the important thing of organising out external forms of church. We also ran over the period a couple of well-attended rural days at Kingston Moorwood College. You might have been to one. These again allowed people to hear speakers on key rural topics, and also to meet people who'd already set up new forms of church, just to show that it wasn't an impossible thing to do. Most recently, we ran a rural symposium back in September, which Chris attended. This brought in guest speakers on rural topics from across the UK. The aim there was twofold. It was both to inform people within the Salisbury Diocese, but also to create a voice for the rural church more widely. It worries me that as I go around the team, churches, people often say, does anyone listen to the rural church nationally these days? What's the future going to be? Well, Rural Hope was one of the ways that we looked in Salisbury Diocese to continue to support rural ministry and mission. We're hoping to produce, at the very least, an online resource growing out of that symposium, And it may even be published as an actual physical booklet, so that a much wider number of people will be able to find out what went on at the symposium and hear the topics that we discussed. So as it comes to the end, I suppose the question is, so what now? Well, the Venerable Karen Hutchinson, who is the new lay ministry development coordinator in Salisbury Diocese at Church House, she came along to the training courses in collaborative ministry that we ran, and is looking to continue something in that form going forward. We also have the Village Pump. This was an online gathering that has been developed by Richard Hancock, one of the rural field officers. It meets via Zoom every first Saturday morning of the month and allows people from all over the diocese to log in and continue discussions on topics of particular interest to the rural church. If this would be of interest to anyone, please get in touch with me on my email address, curate@goldencapchurches.org, and I'll be delighted to put you in touch with Richard. Because all of us on the Root Rural Hope team, as we say goodbye to the actual programme, are very keen that the themes that we developed and the ideas that came out of the programme continue going forward and continue to demonstrate the importance of the rural church. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you again next time.